Khairete, and welcome to the world that was. Today we'll be looking at a recipe from the kingdom of Colchis, a sweet apple and walnut treat. Colchis roughly covers the same area as modern-day western Georgia, but its origins date back to the middle 13th century BC, around the same time as the Middle Assyrian Empire. It's also probably best known from the Odyssey. In any case, let's take a look at the world that was. To begin with, we'll need to make a very basic applesauce. Start by peeling a few small apples before chopping and coring them. Then, dice each one of these into small chunks. Toss your apples into a small pot with a little bit of water, just enough to cover them. Pour a few tablespoons of honey into the pot too. Then place all of this over a medium-high heat for about 15 to 25 minutes, or until they break down into a fairly smooth paste. If you want a very smooth paste, go use a blender. Leave your completed applesauce to cool off for a bit before moving on with the recipe. I hope you saved some apples from the last step, because now we need to cook some. Put a few tablespoons of butter into a pan and put this over a medium-high heat until the butter starts to melt. Take the remaining apple chunks that you had kept aside and toss these into the frying pan when the butter starts to separate, like you can see here. Cook all of this for about 5 minutes, or until the chunks of apples start to take on a very golden complexion. Depending on the kind of apple you use, they may start to go soft or even break down. Take them off the heat and let them cool down while you deal with your dry ingredients. Into a large bowl, place 2 cups of plain flour, a teaspoon of salt, and a bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon would have been extremely rare in antiquity, so only the superbly rich would have been able to afford it, given that it had to be imported. However, today you can get it at most supermarkets, so you can include it here. Also, it pairs really well with apples, so yeah. Pour about 1/4 cup's worth of applesauce into the bowl. On top of this, pour 1/4 cup of heavy cream, and your cup of soft cheese. I'm going to be using cream cheese because it works well and has a very nice end result, but it's very unlikely to have been used in ancient Colchis. But really any soft cheese would work for here. Finally, add a cup's worth of Greek yogurt and a small amount of honey, or a large amount of honey. Mix all of this together until it forms a smooth mix. Now, go toss your cup's worth of walnuts into the bowl. I didn't wind up chopping my walnuts because I wanted large pieces of walnut, but you can roughly chop or crush your walnuts if you want. Mix this together before pouring in your cooked apples. Your walnuts might break in half whenever you're doing this, but it'll turn out fine. Fold and work everything together into a relatively cohesive dough, and the apples and walnuts are all very well distributed. Then, take a few tablespoons of dough in a large spoon and place the dollop on some baking paper. Do this with your remaining dough. Lightly press each one down so they're slightly spread out, but not touching. It doesn't matter if your lumps of dough look kind of irregular, they'll turn out amazing. In any case, place your finished cakes into a preheated oven set to 150 degrees Celsius or 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 to 35 minutes. This may take more or less time to cook, depending on the size of your cakes, as well as what kind of oven you have. In any case, they should be done when they look like this. Take these off the pan and leave them on a wire rack to cool for a bit before digging in. These cakes are really soft and light and very sweet. The earthiness of the walnuts really complements the sweet spectrum given off by the honey and the tartiness of the apples, depending on what kind of apples you used. The original recipe may have been prepared as a single large cake rather than several smaller cookies like I did here, but I chose to make smaller cookies because they'd keep longer after I made them. If you wanted to make these a cake, you'd have to increase the temperature of your oven, as well as the cook time slightly. Colchis is first referenced in the ancient Greek poet Pindar's tale of Jason and the Argonauts, who went to Colchis in search of the Golden Fleece. While it's unlikely they actually found a golden fleece, ancient Colchians may have encountered some treats like these. I hope you all enjoyed this look at the world that was. If you like what you saw, please consider leaving a like on this video and subscribing to my channel for some more ancient recipes.